Good morning, everyone. Microphone check, screen check. Looks like everything is working correctly here. I have the microphone in a little bit of a different place, and it looks like it's lighting up a bit hot. So let me know if it's a little bit too loud, because I've got it in a different place, and I know that I tend to be a loud person. So if things get cracking and you notice that it's like blowing your eardrums out, then let me know, because I'm seeing it top out in red already. But I don't know if that's good on, if that's all right on your guys' side or not. So either way, just throwing it out there. Let's rock and roll. Whoops, wrong screen here. Anyway, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Mic check. That's why I'm throwing it out there, because the microphone is, like I said, in a different spot. So reorganizing a little bit. Got the holidays around the corner, you know. Sounds good? Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, welcome. Good morning, SSFTG family, and welcome. And Friday, hey, Friday, ready to rock and roll, right? Good morning over on YouTube land as well. Raphael, Caesar, everybody else so far, good morning. I hope you all have had a chance to rest up and get ready for the day ahead. As per the usual, make sure to read through the morning prep PDF on the right side of the screen there. Very important to go through and understand everything that is inside there. Along with that, don't forget to grab your morning DP levels from the morning brief posted on SSFTG every morning for all of the markets that we're watching at the time. Currently, that's going to be the Nasdaq, S&P Gold, Crude, and Bitcoin. Taking a look at the news, still doesn't feel the same, does it? Taking a look at the news, we can see going into Friday, there's not a whole lot going on. It's kind of meh, right? It's all medium news announcements, but if we actually look at them, it's all the regulars, right? CFTC speculative net positions, U.S. Baker Hughes oil rig counts, right? All the normal players, nothing out of place, nothing crazy. I mean, as it stands from a news side of things, it's pretty calm and quiet. And remember, this is the last major trading week. Next week is Thanksgiving week here in the U.S., and a lot of traders are going to be gone, right? Thanksgiving break, gone all next week. I know my kids are home from school all next week to top it all off. So it's all Thanksgiving break next week. The room's going to be closed. A lot of traders aren't even necessarily going to be looking at the market. But that said, with that smaller volume, less people trading, sometimes you can get an incredibly volatile market that will offer up some really good opportunities. So while you're hanging out at home listening to all the kids screaming in the background, maybe there's something of interest in the markets that might still play out. You might see me pop in the chat room here and there. We're not going to be going anywhere this year, so it's all going to be in La Casa. All right. Not else. Perfect. Nothing else going on. So yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it is. Hey, Letty, how's it going? Ooh, new interface on Zoom. Looks cool. Interesting. I like the little icon. I see it every year during the holiday weeks. Oh yeah, big time. And some of the volatility you can get there is nuts. But anyway, let's jump into some charts, see what's going on. First off, of course, let me make sure that this is running. I didn't hear it, but again, we don't really have any news, so I guess how much is there for him to talk about, right? All right, well, either way, that's ready to rock and roll. Get that out of the way. Get that out of the way, and we should be good. Starting off on the Nasdaq, looking at what is happening on the Nasdaq here, we can see, I mean, right out of the gates, we've got a bullish market that has made its objective. Right? Remember, we've been talking about this for a long time. Wave 1, Wave 2, disgusting Wave 2 inside there. That transition from 1 to 2 is gross. When they finally broke away on 3, though, like we were talking about, Wave 4 typically is quick and fast. And although I did want to see more downside, like 2 legs, something a bit more consistent, this fits the bill, right? A disgusting Wave 2, sharp, non-correct. I mean, it just went straight up all the way up to the highs where it's gone now. And notice where it rolled up to. Right, we've got that 0.38. We've got the Fibonacci response all the way to a T. Perfect. All the way up. So from the larger perspective, this is definitely still bullish. Everything is up. Everything is pointed to the sky right now. The moving averages are on like a 45-degree angle. The thing is, we're completing a 5-wave structure. A lot of times, a 5-wave structure is going to be one of 2 things. Hey, Steven, how's it going? When you have a 5-wave structure, we're either going to see them top out at around this 3.8. Oop, around this 3.8 where they have some difficulty and then roll back down, right? And then we kind of go a little bit sideways because we know the market loves to correct after these 5-wave impulses to the 4th wave, right? That's where they want to go to. Now, inside of there, preferably, you'd have 5 waves down, right? That would be the objective. 5 waves down, and then bounce off of that area. But, you know, perfection is something that the market's a little bit loose on. How's it going, Brad? As far as the overall momentum is concerned, I mean, we've got some really good momentum going to the upside. The bulls are breaking up to a new high. We've got a 0.38. The thing that we have to wait for is, are we going to top out at the highs here? Or are we going to see one of those monstrous 5th wave blow-offs? We're going into the end of November, December around the corner. I mean, this is like Santa rally time, right? This is perfect timing to see something like this take off. One thing of consideration that we don't talk about very frequently because, well, it only happens a couple times a year, but is the January effect. When the market in January closes bullish, hey, Terry, how's it going? We've got a very good probability, 60+% likelihood that the year closes bullish. It's a very high probability with, you know, all probabilities considered. So if we look back at how January operated to give us an idea, that can give us a clue as to what to, you know, kind of expect. Now, I'm not going to do it on NinjaTrader because that's just going to make it cry in pain. Let's go back over to the NQ on TradingView, though, and take a look at January. Now, as we can see from January, I wish this would like subdivide this into the months. Thank you. From January, the beginning, which was right here, we opened here and we closed here. And if you remember, we were talking about this at the time, how this is a really awkward kind of spot going into the end of January. They need to get this to go further up as proof. And the last candle of the month closed it out right there. So we do have January effect in play, and it's been bullish all year. But something to consider as we go into the end of the year, usually when January is nice, strong, and bullish, December doesn't necessarily have to stop. So seeing this continue to the upside, well, I mean, it kind of fits what we're seeing. And looking at the near term, we've got wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're seeing completion here too. There's a lot of big questions. You know, is it going to stop here, or are we going to have that big blow off 5th wave? Right now, it's kind of creeping into like that big blow off 5th wave, but we'll have to kind of wait and see, I guess. Looking at the 15-minute chart and seeing what's going on from here. First off, any DP correlation zones, obviously we're at all-time highs, so they're going to have to be support. That's all we have to work with. The support level would be the -1 DP right there at around 16,300. Beautiful support zone there. The -1.5 is iffy-ishy, not so great. I would prefer the -2 if it's going to dive. So either the -1 or the -2, or even like the -3, which would be like way the heck down here. Doubtable we get there today, obviously, but that would be a big zone if the market just for some reason fell apart. Got to be ready, I guess. As far as the structure is concerned, we've got some really good momentum to the upside off of that L3 with a continuation up. The Nasdaq, they missed that L1, continued up into a deep L3, and then we broke out with a further move to the upside. Once we got through those broken L1s, getting out of break even and all that fun stuff, they finally rotated up to a new high. Job done. We have more confirmation with the second rally to the upside above new highs, holding an L1. And then we get another rally up with another L1, and then another move up. Now they're not even hitting L1. So, I mean, if it does pull back, even just L1 would be halfway decent, but whenever we have a big, strong rally like this and we've got an L1 sequence, I love seeing that deep dip reset down into an L2. That is my favorite. Now, I don't know if we're going to get that this time around, but that would be incredible if we can. And that would give us a zone of interest. Let's see here. Let's make this a little wider. Puts it at around 370 quarter to 15 half. Somewhere inside there. Big zone of interest. We'll see. Outside of that, I mean, from a volume perspective, the market has done nothing but go up. So, assumably, there's stuck shorts, right? We have to assume that. So, given this move, let's go from the first move up. Impulse shorts are in from there. We go up to the next new high. More shorts in from there. And again, the longs obviously won. We don't have to worry about what the longs did. They won the battle. I'm just looking at who's stuck. So on the short side, so far we've got the 2 POCs. Got a third POC. There we go. We've got the fourth, maybe. We'll see if they can do it. Nope. We've got a bunch of weird new highs in there, but let's cycle that around. No POC shift yet. Go up to a new high. No POC shift, up to a new high. And that's where we are now. So, I mean, it's pretty fair to say that shorts are heavily stuck. If they were looking to get out of break even, if you look at just the in-between, right? Not assuming that the sellers with a POC here, we already know that their scalp targets got hit. That's obvious. But if we're breaking this down a little bit further, let's say that they were short from an average point of here, and then sold more here, and then sold more here. Now, the only thing that happened on every single one of these is they gave them a break even the first time around, which barely even went through, right? That was such a huge zone of support that the break evens between these 2 points, there's just too much. They pushed the market all the way back up. So when they pushed into the third, right, the only thing that's happened, remember, so far has been break evens. Their average position is in the middle, right? It's right there. And it missed it by like a thread. By just a hair, it missed it. But that miss right there fueled this whole move up. That's a squeeze. That's a squeeze. Right? So with this move to the upside, we've got the sellers who are in the juicer right now. Now's their time. With the completion of a fifth wave, we can see that they haven't hit the gas pedal very hard. There's a lot of volume bumps inside of here, so, I mean, obviously their average is probably a little bit further up. Let's use some common sense here. It's probably floating around here, which fits beautifully for an L2. But if we break this down a little bit further, the completion of the fifth wave to the upside in the more recent, really expansive fifth wave up could use a pullback. Now, the fourth wave pullback is a little bit worrisome because that's down here, but that also isn't part of an impulse. So there's a couple questions as to how the market wants to play. Right now, this big batch in volume seems like it's probably the shorts average. That would be assumably where they're trying to build up. They'll take some of the losses, right? Draw their average to the upside, bounce it back up, sell more, take profit, sell more, take profit. If it breaks down, then they can take profit into the rest. But remember, the shorts are underwater. So that's kind of how I'm going about this whole move, is that the sellers are stuck. They're just trying to figure out a way to GTFO, basically. Going along with the S&P, it's a very similar situation, although a little bit more wedge-ish. We've got a beautiful 60-minute, again, 5-wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And they did complete to a new high, so technically speaking, that's good enough. The pullback was 0.2223. Technically speaking, that's good enough. So, I mean, it fits the rules, right? It's everything that it needed to be to the upside. The question is, are we going to start pulling back and holding support down at the fourth wave? Because there's a huge issue here if it doesn't hold there. What else is going to hold them? They left a gigantic wide open window here, and they better hope nobody's going to step through. Right? Because they got a lot of valuables in that house. And, well, if they get to looting, they're going to go quick. And we'll see it slide all the way to the downside. So we're kind of sitting on the edge of a cliff right now. The S&P dug their own grave here. They've got to keep it on the high side, or we've got a big fall ahead of us. Going into the January effect and everything that we've talked about so far, it's looking strong that we hold support around the 4600s to 4620s. But that said, there are some concerns. Right? I've got some issues here. Going on the 15-minute chart, looking at DP correlation zones, the only thing that really stands out of substance would be the -1. Lines up beautifully with that previous triple bottom. The -1.5 is kind of in the middle. I wish it was structured just a bit lower, but you know, it is what it is. That's a halfway decent zone, although really I'd like to see it dip a bit underneath it. Not a very good fit there. And then obviously the -2 fits very nicely off of that. So here again, -1, -2, same situation. Everything's following through. Completion to the upside, we've got the L3. They rotated into the L1, into another L1, into the deeper L2. Now we have another cycle up into another L2, but that wasn't before we had a false break above the highs and a dive down into L3. So, while that's a little bit of a problem, right? So, we did have an L3. They broke aggressively above the highs. A lot of bulls will be looking for an L1 continuation, and the L1 bulls got annihilated. There are some issues that we're seeing as far as differences between the S&P and the Nasdaq. The S&P has some bearish tones to it. We've got a lot of longs that got attempted to go long up in the 4707s at the top of the L1 or even at the bottom of the L1, and they've done nothing but they just got obliterated. So there's some concerns, right? There's some definite concerns that we see some broken L1 action where we come back up to it and act as resistance instead. So if we hold on to this area across, that would be like this. And it would be more towards the upside. Now, aside from that, the only other structures that we really have to work with would be, gross. This thing looks nasty. There's not really much else to work off of. I mean, they tried getting this, that failed, tried getting that, failed, that failed. I mean, maybe an ascending wedge. That's the only thing that fits. Doesn't help the bears. Weird scenario going on with the S&P. Awkward. Over on gold, off of the 60-minute, obviously everything is bullish and continuing back to the upside and rocket shipping to the top. But we're stalling out a little bit. All things considered, I mean, it kind of makes sense. We're seeing some profit taking up here. This was a really disgusting zone before. So seeing them jerk above and have a hard time up here, well, it seems like the top of that big news candle is the resistance zone that we're going to have to deal with. As far as the bottom of that candle, then, we're also going to have to pay attention to that, because if the bulls fail to get it above here, they're probably going to cycle down to the lows of it. 1823 is that zone of support, and that's kind of right on the edge of a cliff here, too. Because if that fails, then there's nothing to hold them until down here. Underneath 1800, it's 1790. Yikes. Tough spot. Big news zone, though. We'll see if they want to play ball. Over on the 15-minute chart, looking at DP correlative zones, we've got the negative half, which lines up pretty nicely with some of this previous support. Also, from a spike and channel perspective, that lines up beautifully with a spike and channel perspective. If they want to dip a little bit lower, nothing else lines up because the market really didn't leave anything behind. We've got the bottom of the news candle, which is the -1. I suppose that helps, but from a structure perspective, I mean, it's shaky at best. We don't have anything, really. So it's the negative half or the positive half, and that's it. So that's about all they've got to work with right now. They just made a quick new inside low, but we still have, structurally, all continued movement to the upside. They even tried holding the inside high. Yikes. Maybe a little bit wider now? Let's see what they want to do. Curious. If we go across, that's the most obvious, right? So if we pop that down on the low for best fit, I mean, that's not bad. That's pretty close. It's a little shaky at the start there. Maybe that's what they're driving down for. Looking at it from a volume perspective, we've got the impulse all the way up to the high. Again, we haven't made a new low, so nothing's really changed. But we do have the POC, which has drastically shifted to the upside after, well, pretty obvious building. Shorts are pretty obviously stuck. Again, looking at the POC on the top, if the sellers are looking for their scalp objectives, that's what all of this bouncing is. All of it. So with all this back and forth bouncing and poppy sloppy gross, it's all off the scalp target. We're finally starting to break through. So if they are able to break through, that is the shot where we might actually get a little bit further of a drive down. Next volume node's down here by the sellers 3-to-1s. I mean, you can see this is a wide open door. So the bulls need to hold the support, or they're going to be running out of stamina real fast. Over on the 60 on crude oil, we've got the market shifting down. Hey, Ace, how's it going? Which is, more recently a beautiful trap off the top and now cycling off of that move lower. Maybe this is a descending wedge, right? Grinding its way down. But overall, the 60-minute directional bias is beginning to tilt to the downside. The bulls have had their day. Maybe this is a corrective phase down from this previous bullish leg. So if we look at this last bullish leg where would 5 waves be? I guess wave 1, wave 2. Wave 1 and wave 2, by the way, is disgusting. So wave 4 can be fast. That is not a valid impulse. This would be a valid impulse, but that only has 2 cycles down. So this kind of begs the question of like where is this in the grand cycle? Because the only other thing that we really have that fits, I mean, I guess it'd be this. Jeez, what a psychotic move to the upside. Yeah, I mean, it fits, right? It's per the rules. it lines up. Just massive blow off on the top then. So we have an incredible overrun on the 5th wave, which usually is more indicative of fear, which means that the market might be looking to run back for something. Now, back for something, well, I think it's easier to see on the 60-minute because it's been going up for so long. Probably stuck shorts, right? So if we go all the way across the high, we know the POC is top weighted. Come on. Oh, hang on. Hang on now. Oh, don't do tick. Do minute. Do minute. Did I catch it in time? Whew, okay. So as far as what the market's probably trying to run back for, 66.77 doesn't seem like it's that far of a stretch. It fits a lot better a 4th wave that would be over here. I will say that. That is not an impulse wave, though. That is a corrective wave, so that doesn't help anything. So from an impulse perspective, the 4th wave base is down here at 71.50, but from a volume perspective, an overreach down into the 66.77s, it makes a little bit more sense. That's what they're trying to run back for. The shorts are stuck. Well, They probably built up already, and they've probably averaged out quite a bit, but in the grand scheme of things, right? Looking at a DP side of things, the only thing that really lines up, because it's down so far, would be like the positive half. The positive half from here, where we are, remember, they're dynamic. So we've got 1 all the way up here would be a 1.5 move. That's a big spot. So if it does go off of that positive half, that's a really nice zone of resistance. If it goes a little bit further up, it lines up okay. I wish it was a little bit better with the positive 1. The positive 1.5 lines up beautifully with that previous swing, and the 2's in the middle of nowhere. So more likely 2.5 or maybe even 3 if it were to go way the heck up there. And then on Bitcoin. Bitcoin on the overall 60-minute perspective is finally cycling to the downside. We've got our corrective phases, right? We had the market ripping to the upside. We've got a beautiful completionary move, wave 1, wave 2, disgusting wave 2 once again, rallying all the way up, and it didn't really matter because wave 4 was also pretty freaking gross, and that gave us the overall move all the way to the upside. Now, I'm sure we could subdivide this a little bit further and find a 5th wave inside of here to make this fit a little bit better. If anywhere, it would probably be somewhere inside here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pretty obvious. So a cycle over here like this would make a bit more sense, I think. If that's the case, then, although we do have a grander cycle in play, where do they usually go back to? The 4th wave corrective, right? That's where they bounced off of. So we're seeing supportive nature that is proving that this one makes more sense. Okay, well, if that's the case, then we should have 5 waves back, right? Wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, got it. Okay. So as far as the continuation phase to the upside goes, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5. Wait a minute. What the heck is going on? We're obviously still in a corrective phase. So that opens the door of this cycle. Hang on. Jeez, excuse me. This is opening the door for the sellers to possibly widen this out for a 5th wave or a 5-wave impulse move to the downside. We've only got wave 3. There's more potential. So I don't think we're done with the down move. I think there's more potential to the down move, and it makes a lot of sense to possibly try to wind up and around the 53s, 52s. But, I mean, honestly, seeing them dive down pretty aggressively on this wave, let's say as an example, we get a cycle down that looks something along the lines of this, because there is a lot of support in the 53s. So we'll get a bounce up like this, comes back, retests some of this previous structure, and gives us like a 50% bounce. Maybe even a little bit further for a 618, actually. You know what? That lines up even nicer. Something like this, and then a continuation phase down. For that 5th wave down, it doesn't have to go very far, right? I mean, technically, it just has to double bottom. But anywhere underneath that low would make sense. The problem is we look left, and well, there's no support. Like, there's nothing until we start getting down into, well, the 44s. So that makes sense for the final completion. If we're looking at fib numbers, let's go 1.21. That would give that downside move, still fit the impulse, and still get everything going to the downside, creating a dip down to 43,000. I mean, you can see this is opening the door for some pretty wide momentum lower. The 15-minute is obviously bearish, and it's continuing down. There's not really much to add. So, all right, again, just a quick recap on the Nasdaq. I would like to see a deeper pullback. That would be nice. On the 60-minute cliff, looking at the bigger perspective, we have completed the fifth wave up. Possibly seeing a deeper corrective phase down all the way down to 15,890s is potential. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday, the very next day. We're kind of stuck in this scenario where it's like, okay, are we going to keep going up, or are we going to fall apart off the top? What's going to happen here? The L2 is holding back in supportive volume a little bit lower in the 16,300s. We'll see if that's enough. Hey, Banana Jammers, how's it going? TGIF, yes sir. $9.28 is around the corner. That's the next big batch of news, really, or well, not really news, but batch of orders, I should say. That is the last modification for at the open orders. Yeah, I'm still hacking my lungs out, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Feeling better day by day, I guess. There we go. Okay. I viral out very quickly myself. Yeah. You know, it's 50-50, man, I tell you. Like, sometimes I don't get sick for months and months and months at a time. Like, I'm totally fine. And man, it's the combination of the cold season. Like here in Michigan, obviously we've already got snow on the ground. It's no bueno. If you like warm weather, don't show up here. You know, the combination of all of that certainly doesn't help. Michigan is on the top of like the outbreaks right now. My neighbor just sent me a message, said he has COVID, so I can't even go over there. I'm SOL, man. Stuck by myself over in my little corner. Just me in the woods. And the squirrels. I've been trying to feed the squirrels because I know I'm a softie when it comes to these small little animals like that, you know. Like, granted, I'm probably going to just end up keeping foxes around, but the squirrels will be nice and fat. Hopefully they can climb. What the hell is going on with his mic? Is it just me, or does his mic sound crazy today? Sounds like he's in a tin can. Or is it my speakers? I gotta wait for him to talk again. Oh yeah, for sure. That second, oh man, that second shot laid me out. That was vicious. When I got that, I was down and out. And some people, totally fine. So I feel like I'm doing better. We're getting there. But it is also morning, and my throat's well lubricated, and I haven't talked for 2 hours, so we'll see. No, I don't have one of those miniature dining tables. We have dogs and cat, well, a dog and a cat, sorry. And they both would break through any door in their path if they saw them too much. So when I feed them, I have to shut all the doors and everything. Oh yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm not worried about it. I'm just letting you guys know if you hear me squeak or make funny sounds. This is not on purpose. 9:30 open. Where'd my tick strike go? Did I close that on accident? Whoops. Let me reopen that. There we go. All right. We've got some bullish continuation to the upside, kind of, sort of, but I mean, all things considered, this is a pretty gross spot to be in. Pretty gross. As far as the S&P, we know that the S&P's got a little bit more bearish pressure, but a little bit of popcorn. I mean, look at the dive down on this. Vicious. What have they really been able to do today aside from fall? Is that close to a double top? Might as well be. Now they're breaking underneath that. It's just it's a battle. Punch each other in the face, seeing who's going to win. Wicks all over the place. We are at the open, right? So we've got to be a little bit careful. We're in I mean, obviously we're in a range. So buy low, sell high makes a lot of sense. Low is relative though, because, well, there's a couple different spots that could be of interest. I'd prefer below the 530s though. If we're looking at a volume perspective on the last time around, is there anything down there? There's too much volume out there. But over here. It's still over there. Yeah, they're all over the place. Major zone of support. Earlier sellers who were trying to short this bear bar have a shot to get out at break even down here in the 527s. Otherwise, I'd like to see them dive down a little bit lower and challenge some of these other places. Nice little dip sub 15s. Ooh. Ooh, we got a lot of volatility. Be careful. Buy bid could be 15 ticks from where you hit the button. Be very careful. It's only 2 minutes in. We're already seeing this crazy slides. Look at the bid ask. The bid ask is points apart. Be very careful. Dangerous territory. Sellers were jumping ship at break even. Wow. Okay. Sellers haven't been able to break through the lows, which is, again, suggestive that the shorts are starting to exit for break-evens. Bulls are trying to get a continuation back to the upside. Would love to see if they can trap out some of these traders down in the low 25s to 20s. Okay. With time for me to respond because I'm human, Nasdaq. Jeez. Okay. Fair enough. See if we can get a little bit of a dip down again that I can actually respond to. That was a bit quick. Another consideration. Just going over a couple different zones of interest. Still hearing some popcorn on the S&P. Again, be careful. Today is dangerous. It's a possible short signal, but again, given the context, I think that it's not a very good short signal. It looks like a lot of shorts are exiting from earlier that got stuck. So if this triggers underneath this bear bar, it's actually not a halfway decent... it's not a bad spot for a possible bounce for a move back up again. Yep, scalp bounce right back up. False little trap. You got to love them. Small little continuation phasing. The next trap low would be around the 22s. But we don't really have, structural support until we start getting down into like the 20s. That was also another another bear bar that got triggered in and dunked. This definitely has some potential for squeezes. There's a lot of shorts that are possibly stuck right now. Possibility of them starting to get some squeeze action going. It doesn't feel like the sellers have let off, though, right? They haven't totally given up yet. At least it doesn't feel that way. All right, they're starting to get the squeeze. Dipping back a little bit. Starting to pulse above that last zone for the bulls to get the squeeze going against the bears who are potentially stuck short. Although a deeper pullback down in the 40s wouldn't necessarily hurt my feelings. I like this for a high-weighted squeeze to the upside. Upside objectives would be like up in the, well, we'll see. You know, it's up in that zone. We've got the shorts that are getting squeezed out of their positions, which is why I'm looking for this continuation a little bit further up than I would normally be comfortable with. But the context is really good for these shorts to get rocked right now. And there's the pop to the upside. Beautiful. Nailed it. That's a squeeze. I mean, it's a squeeze perfectly, to a T. The sellers tried getting it to go down. We were buying into their sell signals, right? I was only able to get one, so unfortunately I missed the middle bit here, but that's a squeeze, right? That's how it operates. If you have more contracts, I mean, there is potential for a continuation to the upside, but put them in the juicer. All-time highs, especially. What a bad place to be in the juicer. Oh, geez. Yeah.
Says we expect other countries in Asia and Europe will partner with the US over time, following a deal with Australia and the UK.
Dude sounds like he's in a tin can. Look at the 15-minute chart. Look at this wick right now. Sheesh. Who's that talking in the background? That is Financial Juice. He is he's our news provider. We do the popcorn and the sounds in the background are Tick Strike, which is also through Financial Juice. I mean, Financial Juice, for what they bring to the table compared to the competition, is ludicrously cheaper. It's ridiculous. Like Trade the News and some of those other ones are just stupidly expensive. And don't get me wrong, I mean, it's obviously important to know when news is and what's coming out, or if there's surprise news announcements so you don't get your face ripped off, you know? But I don't want to pay $400 a month for a service that I'm using on the side, you know what I mean? Like, that's not my jam. Financial Juice, I will be totally upfront. I partnered with them, so I'm not paying a thing. But I have been using them before I even partnered with them. I've been using them forever. So Financial Juice is one that I am a big fan of, and I will always push before I was with them as a partner and after. Obviously after. But they've always been one that I've promoted. You can talk to other members about that too. But for what they offer and the cost that they offer it at, it puts all the other ones to shame. If you use news in the way that I do. That said, they're up to I mean, they're really, really up to the second. There's really no delay, so I don't see a difference between them and someone else. Other than today, his microphone seems to be a little bit weird. But, I mean, we've all been there. It's Friday. He's probably on his laptop in Boca, right? You've been using them for years too? Yeah. Beautiful squeeze to the upside. It seems like a lot of the bulls are feeling like, maybe they can't get more than this, and they're starting to piece out of their longs on that squeeze. Remember, they had to buy really high, myself included, so seeing them flush back, well, I mean, they're going to be pretty quick to jump. They don't want to give that icing back because the icing's not very thick. Excuse me. We can see all of the wicks that are forming at the top. Look at how these candles are forming. They're suggesting that the bulls are starting to piece out. They're nervous. It's not to say that it won't go back up to the top, right? Notice where we're bouncing. This is where the earlier exit point was. So a lot of times when bulls are looking for a re-up, that's where they re-up.
In China, one of the largest military build-ups in modern times, much is destabilizing.
That way they can tell their boss, no, I didn't get out. What are you talking about? Or even better, if it does get the follow-through move and they get the continuation, they were able to get a scalp and a swing.
1.75 trillion, Build Back Better Act. The voting is continuing. Campbell goes on to say that accused in one response to concerns in the Indo-Pacific about China's rapid military investments.
Squeeze part 2, yeah. I mean, we can see here the sellers are trying. Like, look at all the wicks. Holy crap. This is why you buy low and sell high when you're in a range. Don't forget, guys, we're going into the holidays next week, so we're going to be out next week while we do that. Again, for you members, I'll probably be in and out of the chat room talking about a few different things. More likely than not, crypto and some scalping on the Nasdaq, because there's probably going to be volatility. But just as a heads up, if you don't see anything pop up next week, that's why. Thanksgiving week. We've got more bullish continuation up. Very strong bull bar to try to kick things off. But again, it seems like the earlier longs are piecing out. This is kind of a bad spot to try to take a long. It's the same thing that happened down here, just with a little bit less context. Otherwise, I'd short into it. Little sell side opportunity here. Might be able... no, that's a bad fill, and I didn't get filled where I wanted, and I missed it. Okay. Well, that was a mess inside there. Great. Jeez. I hit sell ask. It was like 5 or 6 ticks lower than I wanted, so I canceled it. Then it jerked down to where the target was, then jumped up, would have filled, and then jumped down. What a mess. All right.
White House Indo-Pacific Coordinator Campbell says the US is at the earliest possible stages of strategic stability.
Ooh, now sellers are going to be a little bit nervous on that move. See if they take that attempt to get out of break even. Give them that break even down at those lows. There we go. For a little opportunity back up towards the top. Quick little scalp. Nice. I didn't get quite the fill that I wanted, but I mean, that's okay. I wasn't fast enough to grab it down here in the 48s. Look at all these wicks down here. Holy crap. This could possibly be squeeze part 2. A lot of shorts trying to sell into this move. If they try to go for more than a scalp, they're going to get their face ripped off. Ugh. Double top into a lower high, though. All right, there we go. ES is sideways, trying to pick a direction. And, you know, predominantly, if we look at where it is, you can see, I mean, it's been there for a while. Hasn't really changed much. If we're looking at it from the perspective of what's going on, I mean, they did just make a new high, I guess. So, what? Obviously, this is an impulse to the downside. Probably a POC. Ooh. Okay, now hold on a minute. I tell you what, if the S&P can get one more pulse to the upside, 9.5 is a heck of a spot of interest. Oh, wow. Beyond that, I mean, what else do they have? Obviously, the POC is going to be down at the floor, so looks like they're going to try to climb up and grab that 9.5 at the moment. Sellers who sell underneath that bear bar would be a bear engulfing on an inside bar and likely a terrible trigger. Oh, never mind. I was going to try to buy into them getting triggered short, but no dice. Squeeze part 2. Unfortunately, I didn't get the pullback this time. Oh, well. We get a little more continuation to the upside. Again, I'm not convinced that the sellers aren't going to take this back down. Going to be totally honest here. Not convinced that the sellers won't come back in. But as it stands, the bulls are trying to creep it back up. We're at all-time highs. I don't necessarily want to be caught shorting this kind of move, especially when you look at the 15-minute chart. Jeez. There's some concerns. Now, if the bull move here, if this bull bar flops, if this fails, it's game over. Like, we see that big correction, and then we start diving down. This bull bar needs to stick the landing. They just triggered in a whole mess of longs. They got to keep them happy. More continuation, just kind of choppy slopping around. Not a whole lot else going on.
So Biden's tax and spending plan passes the House and heads to the Senate.
Or the S&P is just going to fall on its face and not even make it to settlement.
$1.75 trillion Build Back Better Act.
Nice little scalp zone down in this dip, 57 quarter on the Nasdaq, the base of all of those wicks. Got to be careful, though. It's got to be a fast response because there's some bearishness coming into this move that has candle gapping as well. There's some pressure here. Be very careful. Ooh, geez, that was a terrible fill. I had to immediately jump out of that. I hit buy bid when it was down in the 57s, and I got filled up at 58.50. No thanks. I had to immediately get out of that. It was a terrible fill. It was still profitable by like a tick or two, I guess, but that was just a bad fill. We do have some of those bear candle gaps going on, so if the bulls are going to try to go for more than a scalp, they might be a little bit disappointed unless they can step up to the plate with some pressure. This seems more likely to have a corrective phase down. Yep. S&P bear engulfing on the 5-minute would be underneath 95.75. Wow. That's crazy. All right, Nasdaq trying to demonstrate some bullish support. Bulls they're stepping back up to the plate. They defended it. Really would have been nice to not get a horrible fill down there, but as long as you can spell socks, you'll be all right. We've got a nice dip up. This move to the upside fills all of the bear gaps that they had, so totally invalidates the bears. A dip underneath the previous bull bar will be a scalper's opportunity to get another pop back to the upside. Now it would be an engulfing candle, though, so that's going to have to wait.
So, comments coming from UK's Frost here in a statement following his meeting with EU Sefcovic says that we have not yet made substantive progress on the
beautiful little pop back up. Wow, this thing is jerking all over the place.
Northern Ireland. Goes on to say that the United Kingdom.
Quick little snap. I thought it was going to get underneath that previous bull bar, so I bought it. Actually didn't. Wow. Okay.
Frost.
Well then.
Any solution must constitute a significant change from the current situation. Frost says if no such solution can be found, we remain prepared.
There is another zone of support again in the 60s, but it feels like it's been kind of used up a little bit. Yeah, the next week is all off. Yep. Good bull pop. Little bit of candle gapping going on here in the 74.50s or so. Kind of awkward how they made that happen. Market just continuing to squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and squeeze. No pullback yet. Almost at all-time highs. Bitcoin bouncing off the low a little bit.
Frost on the Northern Ireland talk says significant gaps remain across most issues.
Not exactly the most impressive move up, but the I mean, okay, I guess it works. The 5-minute on the Nasdaq looks a lot better than the S&P. The S&P might as well have closed a doji. I know it's very basic, but sometime when things are slow, can you explain the POC again? Yeah, for sure. And don't worry. I mean, if you don't understand it, ask. Right? That's what I'm here for. That's why you have question time. Very simply, POC just stands for point of control, and that is the point at which the most volume was traded. So if you were to measure any area from the bottom to top, wherever the POC is where the most volume traded. So in this case, on this move up from where I measured, from the low to the high, at 51.50, it's where it traded the most. And you'll notice, if I draw a line up, there are a couple that are very close. So if the market were to go back down here, you would probably see the POC bump around because those other two are so close. Because it's not going to take much volume to make a POC there. You see what I mean? But the POC is just at the point of which the most volume traded. I'm dying. Beautiful continuation back to the upside. Not allowing the sellers anything. What a move. Got about 8 minutes or so until the end of the day. Let's see how today and this week went. Obviously, today is going to be a little bit awkward because there were no losses today, so the numbers are just going to be. I mean,
subscription agreement for 900.
It is what it is, right? For today, we had 5 total trades. Average trade was 17. There were no losses, so. Largest trade was 48.
The agreement for Evergrande Nev,
that's just kind of, it is what it is. But if we look back at the rest of the week, I can't really do today's math because that's not going to work. But if we look at back to the beginning of the week from the 15th, there we go. Now we can see something that we can actually work with. So as far as, the trader's math goes, this week I had 56 trades, 67.86% accurate. The average... Oh, where's my large?
UK's Frost says talks to the EU have been
there you are. Okay. 67.86 minus 132.14 times the average losing trade of 23. And then we have 67.86 times the average winning trade of 24 minus 739.22. So for the week, a positive trader's math of 889.42. Not bad. It's better than an average week of around 600. It's worse than last week when it was over like 1,000. It's just the week type. This week was definitely crazy. But we can see that nothing was out of bounds. Nothing was crazy. The trader's math still holds true. Everything stays put. So it's all good.
White House Indo-Pacific Coordinator Campbell says economic engagement with Asia will be focused on technology, especially AI, and a series of unilateral and multilateral engagements.
Hey, David. Yeah. I'll answer that in the VIP when we switch over to VIP. Just because obviously that's talking about the VIP session, but generally answering the question, I think might even be good enough. That's something that I am working on for the new year, if that helps. That's kind of my I'm working on a lot of really, really cool updates going into the new year. There's gonna be some changes. There's gonna be a lot of really cool changes going into the new year that I'm really pumped about, and that goes along the mindset of a few of them. Took the Nasdaq long. Nice. I like this area for this little pulse to the upside. I mean, it does make sense for more squeezing. The sellers have not been let out. And the all-time high is like right around the corner. How many stops do you want to bet are sitting at all-time highs like, please don't hit. Please don't hit. I'll put my stop one tick above all-time highs. Please don't hit. You know? I mean, you can feel the pressure that they're under right now. Yeah, we've all been there. Seriously. If I move it one more tick, it's not going to matter. If I move it 2 more ticks, it's not going to matter. If I move it 20 more ticks, it's not going to matter. You can tell me any number you want. Murphy's watching, my friend. He's in the bush, just waiting. Just move the stop once. Go against your rules just once. Try him. Oh, he's a vindictive SOB. Squeezing now into the all-time highs. All them tasty stops. Not as much of a squeeze as I would have thought, though, honestly. Feels like we haven't hit the stops yet. It almost feels like they moved their stops a little bit, doesn't it? Please don't hit it. Please don't hit it. Now they're hitting them. They're starting to pressure through. See the candles starting to gap? They're starting to push up. There's a lot more bullish volume. The thing's lighting up green right now. Now they're hitting the stops. Got him!
is interested in stronger defense relationship with the US. There will be more training and ship visits.
All right, we do have 10 o'clock around the corner. I got burned many times with that thought. Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm pointing it out, because it never works. Ever. It doesn't matter how much you offset your stop. If you offset it by 1, it's going to go 2. If you offset it by 15, it's going to go 17. If you offset it by 50, it's going to go 53. Right? If you offset it by 100, it's going to do 101 to piss you off. You know, that's just how it works. It doesn't matter what you offset it by. You go against your rules, your account's gone. That's just how it works, you know. It may not happen today all in one. It might, depending on how badly you do it, but it's just not worth it. There's a reason why trade plans and all of these things exist. Right? They're to protect you from yourself more than anything. It's that stupid thing between our ears. Always gets us in trouble. $31.5 points. Nice work, Caesar. Great job. That's awesome. That's a heck of a way to end the week, too. Covered the failed short, and then some. Yep. That's a beautiful thing, man. It only takes one, as long as you're following your plan. That's why I harp on it so much, you know?
France is present.
I believe this is the second time that drinks are on Caesar, though. I'm just saying. Dom Perignon. All right, let's do last call for questions. We got right around the corner to 10 o'clock. We'll roll into extended session. We'll see if we can get some scalps going. Also, I want to talk with this big dip on crypto about some opportunities that are setting up that are definitely on the horizon. I also had a couple of questions going into the VIP session and extended member session of people asking how I find them. There's two different ways that I find those coins. We'll go into that in a little bit. Outside of that, though... I'm not seeing any other questions, so that's going to do it. I hope you have a fantastic week. I hope you have had a fantastic week. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Remember, next week is off. We're going into the Thanksgiving week. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Make sure to spend some time with family or friends or just away from the markets. I know it's really easy to dive into these markets, especially when you know there's a lot of volatility. For me personally, I set time limits for myself because I know that I'm going to dip my toe in, right? It's going to happen. I know that I'm going to want to trade when the markets are bumping. It's just who I am, okay? So I set time limits for myself. If I'm scalping and I know that I'm in an aggressive state, we're in the Thanksgiving week, I don't want to stick around for hours, right? I want to trade 15, 20 minutes. Set an egg timer or something. Tell Google to set a timer, you know, and you're covered for like 15 minutes or so. And once that's done, then stop, you know? Then you'll be okay. So... anyway, let's switch over into the extended session. I'm not seeing any other questions. So enjoy the weekend, enjoy the Thanksgiving week, and we will see you all the week after, all right? Have a great one. For the rest of you hanging out with me into the extended session, just stick around, listen to me talk to myself for a minute, and we'll rock and roll, all right? Have a great one, and we'll see you all on the flip side. Talk to y'all later. Thanks.